Like, one Archon with proper Stalker support can kill an entire flock of mutas. If the mutas are not microed impressively. Like, basically, if the Zerg just tries to engage head-on, with adequate Stalker support, a single Archon just changes the entire makeup of that fight. These Phoenixes are going to shoo the mutas away, and the mutas will run, and they will die. They realize they cannot outrun their executioners, and eventually the Phoenixes will back off due to superior muta numbers, but they will pursue again soon. And these mutas are basically done. If Sue had gotten a couple corruptors in the mix pretty instantaneously, he would have not lost all these mutas, but it's too late now. They're already all dead. Oh. So I'm not really sure where Sue is gonna go from here. He still needs to deal with these Phoenixes, as they will kill anything in the air as quickly as they can. Phoenixes are a very annoying unit to have to face if they're handled properly. Mutas, okay, Phoenixes are better than mutas if Phoenixes are used right, in my opinion. Because they can kill just as many, they can kill the worker line just as quickly when there's enough of them. And they counter so much more than mutas do. But using them right, and then, like, they're just a hard unit to use. If you get them, it requires like 80 APM just to get them in proper form. So consequently, like, 80 APM is like my max for a time span. Like, I mean, I can get higher than that, but sustain it. That 80 is about the highest I can sustain. So what happens is I can micro the Phoenixes well, but then everything else slowly falls apart. So consequently, I go for Phoenix that are reliant on the Phoenix. I more go for Phoenix builds that allow me to sort of balance the Phoenixes against my composition more. Okay, so now he's gotten his Corruptors. And the Protoss is poking. He has a Warp Prism. And this is a very, very strong Protoss army. This is no laughing matter. Good hallucination. I would say you need to do that off the creep, but okay. I guess it will tank for the Phoenixes a little bit. Well, in theory. Good time warps. I mean, I feel like Sue should actually be okay because he's gotten the spread he wants. There's nothing in this composition of the Zerg player that really cares about that really, or rather, there's no area damage in that Protoss composition, which is already a problem. But because of that, it's not like the spread of the Zerg is giving bonus defense. It's more that the Zerg army does better in the spread based on the missile projections, the Zerglings, just the synergy of the Roachling Muta composition. And I mean, the Corruptor, it's largely that Roachling Muta just does well if it's... That's how most Zerg compositions work, by the way. In case you guys forgot. It's called the Heart of the Swarm. So now Su has a superior army. There's no Void Rays here to challenge the Corruptors. So Zerg is free to run over this base. And now we know why Protoss invented purifiers. Stuff like this will happen. Where worlds will be overrun!
Maybe they'll keep on saying more. That's why they're staying in my lair.
Always living in the past. Su is gonna have to retreat.
It's kinda funny they're gas. Good. Kinda funny they're gas dependent race, anyways, you were saying.
Oh. Su is gonna have to retreat his gas intensive units for now. At least until he reinforces. He will re-engage as he does have a superior army, and with that, Trust will tap out. Thoughts on the game?
Tishazinka's Trust is not a very notable player. I mean, he's not really famous in any sense, but he was beaten, but he did put up a rather good defense, so that was rather interesting to see him go up against Su, who is this very accomplished and very powerful player.
Yeah, Korean Protoss, though, are just sort of known for being very good, regardless of, like, how much we know about them. Like, a professional Korean Protoss that's still, in Korea is, like, miles ahead of most foreigner Protoss. Like, when you talk about the top Protoss players, they're gonna all be Korean. When you talk about the top Zerg players, some of them will be foreigners.
They kind of a monopoly on that race.
Yeah. Terrans are that way as well, but it's not so much restricted to Koreans that have been playing in Korea. You still have players like, I mean, this is no longer the case, but at the time, you still had players like MMA, you still had players like, Bomber, Tasia, that they're not in Korea, but no one wants to play them. And I mean, even still, Polt is over here. So, you know. It's not... Now, granted, the exception to the Protoss rule of being in Korea is obviously MC. But, I mean, yeah. Generally speaking, if they're a Korean purebred, you're gonna expect them to be very good as a Protoss player. At the professional level. It's just, essentially, how it works is that in Korea, PvP is a very hard matchup. Because the Protoss players in Korea you have CJ Entis Hero. Zest, you have Classic, you have SOS, you have, I mean, you're getting the idea, I'm sure.
Yes.
Anyways, I don't know anything about Trust other than, I mean, I know stuff about CJ Entis, but I don't really know anything about Trust. So while this game is loading, what can you tell us about him?
Pretty much the same thing. He really was kind of unknown to the scene until somewhat recently.
Okay. Well, CJ Entis is a pretty well-known team. They've mostly been carried by CJ Entis Hero. He's their ace in their team matches, without any variance. Like, I mean, Acer has had variances in who their ace is because they've had Innovation, they've had MMA, they've had Scarlet. I mean, even Nurchio has carried at the height of his career. So, but CJ Entis has always been Hero's team, as it were. I clicked this already. What part of load did we not? Okay, whatever.
Edward.
Yeah, so, I mean, I expect Trust to have, I'm thinking part of the reason why he's rising in prominence is because, he is on CJ Entis, so the hardest matchup for a Protoss in the Korean scene is PvP. There's just so many good Protoss players. And they all have different styles, so there's so much to learn. But Hero is an expert in the matchup, so if he's gonna learn proper PvP, Hero is one of them to learn it from. I would say that Hero's weakness is that he overcommits to harass at times. But other than that, Hero is very dynamic in his play. There's a reason why he is at the top of the charts in recent times. He's a good Protoss player. So that kind of smooths out the hardest matchup, and so I feel like that allows Trust to work on his other matchups more, however he so chooses to spend his time. And yeah, that's just analysis based on knowing who else is on his team. I will be right back.
BRB.